Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you are having a good week and that your Monday was easy and you're able to figure out as much as you could about remote learning and what your teachers expected. So today we're going to talk about a few things. Number one, Google Classroom. Number two, how to use Writer Duet. And number three, your Overheard conversation assignment. So just three quick things to talk about. I'm going to share my screen to talk a little bit about Google Classroom. So, simple stuff. You know, or hopefully you know, that Google Classroom looks like this. In order to join the class, you click the plus button in the upper right-hand corner. When you click that plus button, it is going to say, join a class. You join the class with the class code. You put it in right here. So just to reiterate what the class code is for us, right? Our class code is H443WD0, which is great. It's got some letters, got some numbers, easy to follow, easy to see, okay? So H443WD0 if you're not in the class already. This is super easy to navigate. There are two main sections that you're going to be concerned with. The first one is the stream, which you're looking at right now. The second one is classwork, and we'll get there. The stream tells you everything that I've done. So when I post new material or post an assignment, it's there on the stream. I'm able to post some announcements as well. So this welcome back. Simple, it says remote learning will look just a bit different than e-learning. The biggest difference is that the assignments are graded. So pay careful attention to due dates and expectations on the classwork tab, especially if you're a senior that needs this credit. Okay, I know some people are in that position. So if you go over to classwork, this is the same thing if you're in the app. Once you click on the class in your app, it'll take you to the stream, and then on the bottom is where you're going to see these options. So you go to classwork. So you'll notice that there are three things right here: 2 pieces of material and 1 assignment. So for course materials, the first thing that you want to look at is the Writer Duet link. Okay, it pulls down a drop-down menu, which is great. It just says follow this link to Writer Duet. I'm not going to read it to you. You guys can read it. Simple enough. And we're going to get there in a second. Okay, you just click the link right here. It'll take you to that Writer Duet page. The other thing here is a PDF of a screenplay. It's called Coffee Shop Convo. We're going to go over that in a second. So let's talk about Writer Duet. Writer Duet is a great web-based program. It's really easy to sign up. So you either do free sign up, if you already have an account because you've been working and raring to go, you click log in. I'm going to click log in. Since it already has my information on the computer, it's already there. So I'm going to delete everything. There we go. So we got this blank page. Let me click out of there. So when you're on Writer Duet on a desktop, it looks just like this. And it looks very similar when you're on the app. So the thing you want to do if you're on a desktop, you want to click this little keyboard here on the left. Okay, there are a ton of different things. So there's stuff here about your portfolio, there are things here about projects, different saved items, cards, we'll talk about that in a second, how to send it to people, comments, but this little keyboard is the most helpful because you'll notice that if you did the Calvisi reading and if you looked at the Hollywood Standard, this here has all the different types of work you can put into a screenplay. So a scene, also known as a slug line, is the first thing that you need. So interior, right? Let's say interior coffee shop. Night. Okay, so we know that int period, right? Interior, you have the location and then the time of day. Between the location and the time of day, you have a dash. Okay. The great thing is that if you hit enter, it already takes you to action. So action or scene description or direction, there are different words for it. This is anything from 1 to no more than 5 lines of action that occurs. So you might say something like, empty shop gives off an eerie glow in, let's make it morning or day, in the morning light. Okay, so maybe you can imagine if you, as you think of that, like light streaming through the windows, there's nobody there, right? An espresso machine whirs in the background. Just say whirs, okay? The reason why I said whirs instead of in the background is because it's important to think of economy of language. So what can you say with the most impact and the fewest words? I didn't need to say in the background, right? An espresso machine whirs, and let's say Lucas, 16, blonde, you don't have to be any more descriptive than that. Behind the machine. Okay. The next thing, if you hit enter again, it'll take you to some more action. But if you want to do a character, if he's going to speak, you hit tab. Okay. Or what you can do is you can navigate this from the side and just click. So we have Lucas here in all caps. He's going to say, I wonder how busy we'll be this morning. A laugh. Lucas turns. To Brandon, tall. Let's make him 17, tall, athletic. Okay. Ties on his apron and adjusts his visor. Then you're going to talk Brandon, right? So what you can do is you can do some parentheses by using the PARENS, laughing. Please, he has people ready to buy coffee. Okay, so what I would do instead of laughing is I would just write he laughs here. Instead, I just think it's better. Actually, you don't need that either because I said there's a laugh. Okay, so it's easy to navigate. Okay, but what you don't need to worry about is transition, shot, text, note, outline, or new act. We don't need any of those. Okay. So scene, action, character, parentheses, dialogue. Those are the only ones you need to worry about. In the app, all of those things should show up on the top of the screen, and you should be able to scroll between them by moving your finger by just scrolling, okay? Super simple. We're gonna talk about how to export this on on Thursday during class when I have more of a concrete answer. On that. So it's pretty easy to use. So that's Writer Duet. Okay. The great thing is it saves automatically. It's just like Google Classroom. Just like Google Docs. So let's talk about the overheard conversation assignment. So we have 15 people that have logged on to Google Classroom so far. We're missing about 11 folks. So if you know somebody and you know they haven't checked in, make sure that they do. So you click on this, and it takes you to um, a Google Doc here. So it says your first attempt at a screenplay is going to come in the form of putting something that you've overheard into screenplay format. Now I'm not talking about someone's deepest, darkest secrets, okay? So you don't have to think about like, oh, what's the juiciest thing that I've heard? Think about the hallways at TF South, something you heard through the wall that connects to a neighboring apartment, a conversation at the table next to you when you were last out to eat, etc. Okay, sometimes these conversations are rich with detail, and the best part is that the dialogue is real, okay? A writer's best friend is the world around them. So the requirements. Using Writer Duet, create a 2 to 4 page screenplay involving up to 3 characters. 2 is better. Don't overdo it. It's our first one. It's our very first one, okay? Number 2, the scene should have a beginning, middle, and end. It should come to some sort of resolution. There should be no cliffhangers. Also, ideally, it should take place in one location the entire time, so you only need one slug line. Grammar and punctuation are very important in screenwriting because scripts should be written in standard English. The reason that I'm saying that is because if you ever want to submit to a competition, you can, you need to have very few typos, very few things like that. Whoever is using the red tool, please stop that. So these overheard conversations screenplays are due by April 20th at midnight. Okay. Before I go on to that, are there any questions?
No.
Pretty self-explanatory, right?
That was good.
Okay. All right. So let's move back over to the overheard conversation. So just wanted to give you a clear example of what I'm expecting. So I put this coffee shop convo up here. All right. So you notice at the top of my screenplay, I have fade in. You don't have to do that. It's pretty much assumed these days that fade in is at the top of every screenplay, but you can. That would be considered a transition. You can use that. You can use that. You can use that. Question? No? Okay. All right. So it says interior, coffee shop, night. The small shop teams with adolescents. And the reason that that's in capital letters is because somebody along the line somewhere is going to have to cast some adolescents. So anytime you include a new character, you have to make sure that they're in all caps, even if they're not a named character. Some gossiping, some studying. Brandon, mid-teens, freckly, nervous, sits across from one of the only empty seats. Brandon, I wrote this like 3 years ago before I knew you, so sorry. He rearranges his notebook, pen, and coffee cup several times. Brandon is scrawled across the side of the cup. He checks his phone. So you'll notice that what I have here in all caps is the word phone. And what that means is that I want the shot to be of the phone itself. Okay? The time is displayed, 6:01. A minute ticks by. Brandon opens the message app several times, starting and editing a message to an Olivia. Brandon's nails need cleaning. Back to scene. So that whole time, the camera is focused on the phone, watching what Brandon does. And then we're back to scene. Those are like mini slug lines. Don't overdo it with those, okay? In fact, I would say just avoid that for the first go, okay? When you're done with that shot, you can put back to scene if you decide to do it, okay? Brandon taps the table, bites a nail. We hear a door open, and Brandon relaxes, raises his hand hopefully. So you'll notice that when I said the espresso machine whirs, which I do here as well, and the door opens, the thing that makes the noise and the noise itself is in capital letters. What I want to reiterate is that a screenplay is a blueprint of a film. So what I'm doing here by highlighting that Brandon, adolescence, the door opens, the espresso machine whirs, right? These are all things that somebody online are going to have to figure out how to do. And that's why they're like that, okay? Brandon relaxes, we know about that. Brandon says, Olivia, over here. But it's no use. Espresso machine whirs. So you'll also notice that there is nothing in here about emotion. It doesn't say that he, I guess he relaxes is an emotion. But think about it and how we know a person has relaxed, right? Maybe they're like being nervous or he's tapping the thing, he's rearranging everything. He relaxes. That's a visual cue, right? That's so key. Everything is visual. You'll see as we go on. Olivia, mid-teens, Letterman jacket, high ponytail, looks around the shop and spots Brandon waving like a madman. Olivia says to herself, here we go, right? We should only use that parentheses very sparingly, okay? But we've already got a clue about how Olivia feels about Brandon, right? To herself, here we go, right? Nobody says that to themselves and is like, oh yeah, I'm so happy to be here, right? I'm so glad you could make it, Liv. I wasn't going to make you do the entire project. Right. Olivia sets down her backpack. Should we get some coffee first? I thought we can get to work right away. Practice was brutal. So we already know something about Olivia, right? We know she wears a Letterman jacket. We know that she has got a high ponytail. Now we know for a fact that she's an athlete, right? The wind in his sails dies. So that's an idiom, right? It's a phrase. When the wind in your sails dies, it means that you're no longer excited, you're no longer happy, right? Obviously, Brandon is excited about this meeting for more than just meeting to do homework, and Olivia is not. Okay, so idioms are great ways to put an image in somebody's mind because they're so common. A great thing for a screenwriter to do would be to look up some idioms. Okay. Oh, sure, of course. Let's do that. Olivia takes out her books and other accoutrement. The table quickly becomes crowded. Sorry. Oh, wait. Why doesn't just one of us write? Seizing the opportunity to score points. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Right? You can almost see him perk up. Because remember, he was like, oh, yeah, I was about the coffee. She says no. Now he's going to be like, oh, sure, I'll do that. Right? And that's there in the action, in the direction. Don't you have kind of messy handwriting? Oh, I guess. Sorry, I'm just particular about that sort of stuff. No worries. He's worried. Brandon puts his materials away. The reason why I put that there is because it directly contradicts what he said. We know what worry looks like, right? The difference between that and Brandon wishes she had said yes, right? That's a lot more wishy-washy. That's a lot harder to see. We can see worry, right? Refresh my memory. Which character did we get assigned? Tybalt. We're supposed to analyze how he alters the outcome of the play. That should be easy, right? Brandon watches as Olivia scrawls Tybalt in pristine letters on the notebook paper. Her nails are perfectly manicured. So now we have a difference between Brandon and Olivia as well. Remember, his nails are dirty. Now hers are perfectly manicured. So there's more difference between the two of them. Now, I put this in here specifically to show you guys this. Earlier, we have phone and back to scene. And it says exactly what is on the phone and what he's doing, okay? We don't need that, right? It could say he checks his phone. The time is displayed, 6:01. A minute ticks by. Enter, I could hit return, and then say Brandon opens the message, okay? So if you're worried about space, you don't need that because the same thing happens here. Brandon watches as Olivia scrawls Tybalt in pristine letters on the notebook paper. Her nails are perfectly manicured. That is so clear to a director that that shot, that action, should be of Olivia writing, right? And maybe back to Brandon, like maybe maybe she's got beautiful handwriting, and he's just like, right? So it doesn't have to say on notebook or back to scene. Okay. So that's why I put that there. He's sighing, smitten. So this is a 4-page document. I've used the parentheses twice. Totally. Okay, so what do you think? Think? Yeah, about Tybalt. He catches himself. Like back to it, right? Isn't he like the reason Romeo gets banished, however you pronounce it? Ugh, Shakespeare. Because of the fight? Yep, Act 3, Scene 1. He totally eggs Romeo on. You mean Mercutio? Yes, Mercutio. I swear I read the play. Sure. Olivia smirks as she writes. Brandon tries to hide his embarrassment by taking a sip of his coffee, the scribbled name coming into view. Are you sure you don't want any coffee? My treat. He's trying again. Coach doesn't want any coffee. I'm sorry. Coach doesn't really like when we have caffeine. It wasn't exactly a brush off. Oh, I get it. You've got to stay focused for the season. But I'd love some water, Brendan. His shoulders slump as he heads to the counter. Olivia puts in an earbud and continues to work. Okay, 1 second. Hold on. I got to go back here. Participants. Lucas, what's your question, man? You raised your hand. You had a raised hand. What's your question?
I don't have a question.
Oh, it said you raised your hand.
I raised my hand?
Yeah.
No, I was just over there.
Okay. So as we can see, right, as the blueprint for the scene, right, this small short scene, I wanted to remind people of his name, the scribbled name coming into view. So now we've had Brandon up on our face as he took a sip of his coffee, and we remember now that his name is Brandon. And then, of course, we get this, but I'd love some water, Brendan, right? Doesn't even know his name, okay? And he's obviously spitting with her. So this is just a small overheard conversation. Of course, I embellished it a little bit, right? I sat in a Starbucks and I heard something like this. I imbued some of my own knowledge of Shakespeare into the scene, but two people were talking about practice and in the project when I was at Starbucks one day. So there's that. So 2 to 4 pages is your limit, okay? The bottom of the 4th page is the limit. And the reason why I'm so specific about that is because 1 page equals 1 minute of screen time in screenwriting. So if you're going to enter a competition or if you want to study screenplay writing in the future, that is super important that you adhere to any guidelines about time, okay, and page count. All right. So we've covered Google Classroom, we've covered the overheard conversation assignment, and you've seen an example and learned how to use Writer Duet. So that's pretty easy there. Any questions before we close it out?
No.
So thank you. So on Thursday, I'm going to go over how to attach this document in Google Classroom when we're finished with it. And it's due next Monday night at midnight. We've got a whole week to figure out Google Writer Duet and work through it. Of course, I'm here for questions. Don't hesitate. Thank you so much.